four, three.
Hi, GDR here in beautiful Jamaica with another little tip for writers, people who are just trying to get started as a writer. One thing that may help you, one of the tips that I can give you that helps for me, at least, when I'm writing, is a character wall. If you want to live with your characters for some time and make those characters live for you, one of the things you can do is to assign a face to the character, put it on the wall, and live with that. And what I've done over the years is create character walls for each of the books that I write, for every project that I do, creative project. So I'm going to take you into the screen here and show you a little bit of one character wall that I created for a book called The Mountain Shadow, the sequel to Shantaro. So if you can see here on the screen, the character wall was in two big panels, and it basically took up the entire wall in the studio. I collected photographs from magazines and all over the place, and one point here, this is very helpful for us as writers, as creatives, to take faces and attach them to a character to make us really live with their character and understand, give the character their own independent life, so to speak. It's a very helpful tool. But when you do this, remember that we're just collecting photographs from all over the place and using them, and you close it down and you don't then make anything with it afterwards, because those photographs don't really belong to us. They help us as creatives, but they don't belong. So here we go. I took photographs from a series of actors, friends, and people I knew whose faces worked for me when I attached them to the character. I'll take you through a couple in a moment, and maybe you'll get exactly where I was coming from with this. And what I then do is I look at that. If I say, okay, I'm going to give this face, I'm going to give, say, my friend Jeff Decker, an American icon. If I'm going to give Jeff's face to one of my characters, to the character Vincent, for example, in this novel, The Mountain Shadow, I want a range of expressions. I want him under stress. I want him laughing, smiling. I want him calm, and I also want him looking determined. So I'm going to hunt through different pictures that I have of that friend, or especially if that friend is known enough to be online, and get a series of expressions and put them in different places in my character wall. So I'm going to do that with each of the people. I hope to get a range of expressions. So here we go. I'm going to take you in. You can see the character wall here, and that character wall is taking up quite a lot of space. But as we start to go in, I just mentioned my friend Jeff, and so we can find a picture of Jeff here. So here's a picture of Jeff, which was taken, I think, in a gallery where he was displaying some of his work. He's a terrific artist. So Jeff was displaying his work. His face, for me, was emblematic of this American character, Vincent, who was a quintessentially American guy with a very open heart, but who was strong within himself and had a clear sense of who he was and what he wanted to do, but was perhaps too impetuous as a young man, very impetuous, and the kind of person who would, not look before he leapt. And so looking at that character, this was the perfect face for me. Strong enough, determined enough, and so on for that character. So what I want to do when I do this is I also want to find a way to show that character under stress. Now here's a picture that I found of Jeff after he'd just finished working in his iron foundry. It's working up to fabulously high temperatures. You're in a massive suit. It's a cauldron of molten metal, and there's hammers and sparks and all of that. And when he was finished, a terrific photographer, took some pictures of Jeff when he'd just completed it, and the intensity in his expression at that time was perfect for me. So you can see what I'm doing here. I take one kind of neutral expression, I take another expression that's much closer. So I'm working with various people I know, friends and others and actors. I've attached different faces to different names. Now one I want to show you is the character, for instance, of Abdullah. So there's a French football player, Sébastien Chabal, who is a fantastic football player, tremendously impressive player, also has this striking appearance. For me, he was Abdullah. When I saw a picture of him in a magazine, I thought, this is the face. So what I did was I took a range of pictures of him and found them, and they brought me into this. If I take you into another one of these, you can see up here, here's another picture of Sébastien Chabal. And this was, in my mind, this is Abdullah. He is virtually invincible, very confident, very strong within himself, tremendously dynamic character. And so this process of creating a character wall and then assigning faces and so on. I think some people might be interested to see Carla. I found this face in a magazine, and for me, this was Carla. It had some of her mystery, some of her allure. The model, whoever this is, had green eyes. The shape of the face and the kind of mysterious look really carried Carla for me in great measure. So I put in a number of actresses and people here, those who would maybe see how Lisa Carter looked to me. I think you'll know this actress. And I think Robin Wright, one of the greatest actresses, living actresses of any time, brilliant, tremendous performer. I don't know many of these people, of course. It's not that I know them, but her art is tremendous. But her face really took me. And there's a faraway look in the eyes here that really carried Lisa Carter for me, and so on. And that I looked at that picture over and over and over for years as I wrote and rewrote the book. So a number of these faces you can see, you'll recognize some of the actors, you'll recognize some of the people in here. And there are various other things that I've done in order to help me to get into the mood of what I'm doing. And living with this character wall, sorry guys, living with this character wall in this way, if we have this as a part of our life, I promise you, one thing that'll happen when you do this, when you create a character wall for yourself, is that sooner or later, if you live with it, you will wake up in the morning and say hi to your people who are like waiting for you to come and write another chapter or another half chapter or a few lines or some dialogue. You'll say good night when you go to bed I did. Every night I said good night to them. And if one of those characters, because of the narrative, has to pass away, you will find resistance from the characters. They'll be saying, no, you can't do that to me. I'm way too valuable, you can see that. I can't possibly die in this book. Maybe someone else, but it can't be me. You'll get this kind of thing, a dialogue that's happening that reaches its peak, of course, when the character is in peril. So that interaction with your characters, I don't know of any other way that does that other than creating a character wall and living with it, and then closing it down, creating a new character wall for a new project. I'm putting up some images. You'll see these come up of images. You've got a left panel and a right panel, a center panel here for the Mountain Shadow. I'm also putting some up from a series called the Soul of My Soul series. And there we've got two books that are set in the past and one that's set in the distant future. And you'll see the character wall that I've taken, because it's the same characters being reincarnated in a different time. I can use the same actors for their faces, but you'll see I need different color tones. I need a different way of looking at them. They need to be in different costumes. They need to somehow take me into that zone. So you'll see what I've done, some of the actors I've selected for the faces and so on for my characters, and you'll see the transition from one set of panels, which is for the earlier series, then a little bit later in time, another set of panels with the same actors, and then you'll see the futuristic series, where a book is set in the far distant future, and you'll see the same characters, but with a different feel and a different mood. Those panels were with me while I wrote the book, and they existed, but then you finish and close them down, and when you start a new big project, you work on your new character wall. So there's a recommendation for you. Give it a try, see how you go. You may start with just a few pictures on your notice board, and that may be enough for you to get going. Say a short story. Pin up a picture here and a picture there and see if it helps you to get into that character and to develop that character in your short story. Before you know it, you'll probably be creating a big character wall like this. Blessings and love from Jamaica. I hope that helps you. GDR out. One love.